Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and in this video, we are going to be doing a deep dive on Riho Bonespear, a new Void Legendary for the newest faction in the game, Shadowkin, in honor of a guaranteed Void Legendary event that Plarium has just hosted, where you can pull 90 Void Shards to summon Riho Bonespear. So I thought, what better time to dive in and get an infographic out, show her in action, talk about her kit, and do a full guide on the build, the masteries, the stats, how good she is, full grades in all the different areas of the game. We will dive into all of those topics for Riho Bonespear, so let's get into it. Alrighty, and first of all, for all of my champion guides, I like to get an infographic out there showing the general information of the champion. You can find that down below in the pinned comment and also in the video description. And these are usually linked to on my tier list on both the website and the spreadsheet version that are also both linked down below in all of the videos. And also a massive shout out to my good friend and clanmate Ford for letting me jump on his account and do some testing and get Riho built and play around with her a little bit, because I did not have the 90 Void Shards available to me to go after the guaranteed event, and I have not been lucky enough to summon her just kind of regardless of normal Void Shards. So it was fun to have that opportunity to dive in and play around with her a little bit to bring you this video. So then as we transition to going over her kit and her stats and all that, let's start with the base stats and let's pull up how she compares on the base stats compared to every champion in the game. So the way this is going to work on this chart right here is the line that goes down the center is going to be the average for base stats in the game. So if a champion's stat goes to the left of that, it is towards the lower end. If it is to the right of that, it is going to be towards the higher end and technically be good. You can see that most of the bars end up being pretty good, pretty decent base HP. She does scale her damage with attack, so having above average attack is pretty decent, and a pretty good defense. Very, very good speed at 105. You can see anytime we're up over 100 speed, that is very nice. Everybody's got a full crit rate bar because 15 is kind of the default. She's got the lower end of crit damage, but it's fine. She's not really a damage dealer. The 40 resistance is very good, and it is definitely a little bit unfortunate that she has 0 accuracy. I would say that's the only ding on her base stats. Everything looks really good, really solid. It would be great if she had 10 or 20 base stat on the accuracy, and then I would have given her an A+ on base stats instead of just an A, which is shown, if you remember, on that infographic up towards kind of the top left right here. We got the base stats of A. That would have been A+ if she had any sort of like a 10 or a 20 on the base accuracy, because everything else is pretty solid. Then as we dive into going over the kit, one unfortunate thing right off the bat is the book requirement. You've got the 4 on the A1 plus the 5 on the A2 is 9, plus going to be 5 more is 14. So 14 books for a Void Legendary is a lot. Most notably, they've made a champion that came out around the same time as Riho in Nekarit, and he only takes 6 Legendary books. So 14, definitely on the hefty side in the game. I don't know what the exact average is for Legendaries. I would guess it's something like 11.5 or 12, somewhere in there is kind of the average requirement for books on legendaries. So 14 is definitely towards the unfortunate side. But anyway, for the A1, we've got attack 1 enemy. We're going to place a 15%, which is the big version of continuous heal, on the ally with the lowest HP for 1 turn. And through my testing that you'll see later in some of the footage, she can place that on herself if she is the one with the lowest HP. That's an important thing to know about the ability. And then we're also going to place a 7.5 baby version of the continuous heal buff on all allies that currently have 30% HP or less for 1 turn. So a pretty decent A1. It's definitely not the calling card of her value, as it's just kind of a single target that's not going to hit super hard or anything. You only get these measly 5% damage boosts from books, so like, we'll talk about the booking later, so never mind. But anyway, yeah, the A1 is not super amazing. It's mostly the other stuff in her kit that makes her a very solid Void Legendary. Because for the A2, this is pretty crazy. We've got places a stun debuff on a target for 1 turn, as well as every debuff, and no, I'm kidding, as well as HP burn, 60% increased decreased defense, 25% weaken, decrease attack, decrease crit rate. The big versions of all of these, we're just going to kind of pick one person and say, screw you, I'm going to make you worthless, and I'm going to CC you. So obviously a very, very good ability for any sort of a boss fight, single target scenario, or if you're trying to pick on one specific thing in the arena and really lock them down. Riho can be great with this A2 here, and it does book to a 3-turn cooldown, which is excellent. Then we've got the A3 here that is going to remove all debuffs from all allies. We love cleanses, especially AoE cleanses. But we're also, this is super rare in the game, we're going to also place a block debuffs buff on them for 2 turns after cleansing them. And on top of that, we're going to heal all allies by 35% of their max HP and a further 5% for each debuff that was removed from them. And you can book this to a 3-turn cooldown. It means she has a very good rotation on her abilities of default 3-3 in terms of the cooldowns. But also, her passive does notably have a cooldown as well of 3, so a nice rotation on everything there. When receiving any debuffs, instantly transfer them from this champion onto the attacker. Will not transfer debuffs that cannot be removed. This is most notably super amazing in a scenario like you're facing Hegemon in the arena. He gets to go first and place debuffs on you, but boom, you're basically going to negate that effect with this amazing passive right here. It's a really great starter for a wave or an arena fight because it does have a cooldown after you get the benefit of that effect. So all in all, a very solid kit, and that is why if you look up here towards the middle, she gets very good grades, very generally useful. Basically going to be an A in almost every area of the game, at least going to be usable and solid no matter what you're doing, because she's got the cleanses, the heals, she's going to block debuffs, which is super impactful. She's got the A1 constantly popping off, putting healing where you need it, the passive to help her sustain herself and prevent debuffs from landing, and then she places like every debuff in the game on a boss or somebody you're trying to bully. She has an aura, she has good base stats, so a very generally useful kit and base stats here to make her able to find spots on basically any account for anyone that summons her in at least some content. But now let's go ahead and pull up the Riho that I've got built on this count, and we will talk about the gearing process, what stats to look for. We'll talk about the masteries, the booking, and everything you need to know that goes into getting Riho Bonespear built for your account. So alrighty, first of all, when we're thinking about what sets to use on Riho, we're trying to get speed, accuracy, and toughness mainly. She can also be a good candidate for both Relentless and Reflex because you've got lots of very impactful cooldowns to either cycle through or get back as soon as possible. And the extra turns on the A1, proccing a bunch of extra heals constantly going off while also helping you cycle through can make her a decent candidate for the Relentless set as well. But mainly during the gearing process, we're looking for speed, HP, most notably as kind of the toughness stat, and then also going to be going for accuracy to make sure that we're able to land all of the impactful debuffs that she is trying to place. So I would say typically for the banner, you're going to probably want to go with accuracy and then your best blend of the stats that I kind of mentioned. Your amulet and ring, you'd want to have at least one of them be HP, maybe both of them as long as you have good ones, but it would be great to get reaction gear on her as well, especially if you're going to be using her in PvP to make sure she can kind of live on some of your more defensive teams. Then for up in the top row, you'd probably want speed boots most often because you want her to kind of cycle through, go early in the rotation, cleanse off debuffs, so the people going behind her are going to be accessing the full utility of their strength after she has cleansed them. And then I think on this build here, just the way the gear kind of shaked out, I would prefer to have a lot more HP. I think sacrificing a little bit of defense to get more HP would make a lot of sense. But unfortunately, just because of how things were looking here on the account with what was available, I ended up going with defense on both the gloves and the chest piece. But when building her, ideally, you would have at least one of those be HP percent, unless you're going for like some crazy accuracy build with an accuracy chest or something, then you would probably want the gloves to be HP percent. And the top ones are mostly pretty simple. We're just looking for speed, accuracy, and toughness to go on those. But if you wanted to see, there they are. Then sliding over to talk about the booking process. We talked about it a little bit, but during booking her, if you can save any books on the A1, I would go ahead and do it. All of the books on the A2 and A3 are extremely impactful because you're getting a ton of cooldowns. You're getting 4 cooldowns, 1 on the A2 and then 3 on the A3. So with how good she is as a champion, nothing wrong with booking those up. Maybe do it slowly, like 1 or 2 books at a time. And if you could save a book or 2 with some decent RNG on the A1, there would be nothing wrong with that because we're not really getting a whole lot of value out of books into the A1. Then for the masteries, I do think this is mostly a decent general utility setup. If you're not going to be using it at all in PvP and you don't need 500, 600 accuracy for that type of content to make sure you're able to land stuff in the arena, you could definitely go with something like Oppressor because you're going to be getting all the debuffs from the A2. So you could get a little bit better turn meter fill and cycle through a little bit better if you're not going to be worried about using her in the arena. But just in terms of general content, to have her available for things like tag team arena and stuff like that, these masteries should be mostly okay with you for you and how you're using her, but you definitely want to kind of take a look and build according to how you are going to use the champion. But now let's go ahead and step into the lab so I can show you some of the footage that I've got recorded while playing around and testing her. And we'll walk you through what some of her abilities look like and how they're going to function on the battlefield. So first of all, let's go ahead and play this. I've already slowed it down a little bit. Right here, this is going to be the ability that places all of the different debuffs. So you can see this is the A2. And right here, it's going to be placing all these different debuffs on an enemy. You can see the decreased attack, the decreased defense, on all of that kind of floating up above their head as she places all of those different debuffs on the one enemy that she wants to bully and do all of that too, and also with the stun to provide some CC as well. And then this next one is going to be how the A1 functions. Now, you got to catch the A1 right away if you're trying to find the continuous heal, because it happens right at the start of the ability. So if I can get this frame perfect. Okay, so right here, we're going to look at the Venus. You see how there is no continuous heal right here. So if I walk you through, bang, there it is. There is the frame. It's going to be the A1 coming. And right here, there is the frame of it. So Riho is about to do the A1 default. And right there, places the continuous heal first at the start of the turn on the Venus, because the Venus has the lowest HP currently. And then pops off with the A1 to attack one enemy right there. And then you get to see how Relentless can be kind of cool on her, because she is going to do all of that with the kit, and then also take an extra turn after that and be able to cycle through to the A2, the pressure points, and get that rolling right out the gate. Now, like I showed at the start of the clip, this is going to be kind of when a battle loads in. So you can see round 1 at 1 second when we just load in, and you can see that she defaults in most situations to that A2. So pressure points is the A2. Her AI will go ahead and slam a priority target down first by placing the stun and all of those different debuffs on them. And then this one right here is going to be showing her A1, and you will see that she will place the continuous heal on herself on the A1 right at the start of the turn. Remember, the continuous heal happens right away. So A1, boom, continuous heal goes on the ally with the lowest HP. It is her in this scenario because she is behind the Venus, as you can see. So she can place that on herself and pop off. So that was a good example showing how the continuous heal can go on her there. And then this next clip is showing the extra turn proccing again. So we get to pick a priority target to super debuff and CC. And then you'll also notice that the Venus right here has a heal reduction. So we're not going to be able to heal the Venus with the continuous heal buff that is currently on her. But guess what is going to happen because of the Relentless set? After we debuff right there, boom, any second now, we are going to do a cleanse right there. You see, remove a debuff. So now the Venus on this frame right here goes from having a heal reduction that is hurting her and not letting her gather life back because she is almost dead, and that would be devastating. But we are going to, in this frame right here, remove all debuffs from all allies and then place the block debuffs on them, and we get the massive heal coming through as well, because on the A3, remember right here, it says also heal all allies by 35% of their max HP, and also a further 5% for each debuff removed from them. So the Venus is getting a big heal in that situation, while also enabling her to get more healing in the future because of the cleanse that we did of the heal reduction that was on her. And then this last clip right here is going to be showing how a Hegemon in the arena is going to be going first up here and going to be trying to place debuffs on our team. But you will notice that the debuff that is placed on Riho never lands because of Riho's passive at the start of the arena fight. You can see at 2 seconds, this is going to be the initiation turn of the arena with the Hegemon going first. And when he tries to go ahead and boom, right there, you can see that there is a decreased attack right here labeled on Riho, but it is never going to place, even though Riho did not resist it. There is no block debuffs or anything. It does not land on the Riho because her passive is enabling that to not land. Now, she would place it on the Hegemon, but the Hegemon currently has this block debuffs buff, so it will not land. But if he did not have that, she would actually reflect that back onto the Hegemon instead of it being placed on herself. But not only that, you see how a lot of my team was actually devastated by the Hegemon. We've got the block cooldown and all these different debuffs coming out, kind of locking out my team against the Hegemon. Look what our Riho is going to do. Boom, we get the AoE cleanse and the block debuffs, and now we are off and running. Off to the races. We're able to cleanse everything that the Hegemon did to us, and we didn't even really need the immunity set because the debuffs are not going to land on our Riho anyway, so we can build her as a cleanser with high speed, and we can just wipe away everything that the Hegemon already did to us, which can obviously be super handy in any sort of defensive arena team. And now let's go ahead and pull her grades up top there and talk about how she kind of grades out in general as a champion. So obviously we got the name and Shadowkin, the legendary Void Affinity, which is great. An overall grade of 9.4 on an overall kind of weighted tier list, which is obviously very good, going to be very impactful for most accounts. The book value, she takes a lot of them, but they are pretty impactful. So pretty solid there. She's amazing in the clan boss. She's going to be even above a 10 because obviously with the heals and blocking the stun and just all of the debuffs that she's placing on the clan boss with one ability. A lot of teams where she could kind of find a lot of use there. In the arena, she's going to be very good in the right situation as an arena cleanser, and can obviously be a counter to many champions, so very good there. XP farm, she could do it, but she's not going to be great in that role. Faction war, she's obviously going to be amazing for Shadowkin, and kind of grade out just generally good on most of this stuff here, between Doom Tower and some certain boss fights and kind of being that cleanser healer. Hydra, obviously really good there because of all the general utility of her kit. And then in most of these dungeons, she's just going to be pretty solid, just kind of in general. So in terms of a tier list context, she is the kind of champion that is going to grade out very well because she's got the good base stats. She's Void Affinity, and she has a very generally useful kit in terms of being a support with some of the healing and cleansing and blocking debuffs and a passive to avoid things, the targeted heals to the person that needs them, and then slamming a single target with all the debuffs that you would want to place on them, basically, if you're trying to take them down with a speed of 105, which is great. So honestly, would I change a whole lot about her design? Not really. I think Plarium did a pretty good job on her. I think she's very solid, but not like some crazy broken champion that's just stupid. So all in all, I would give the design of her like an A. There really isn't a whole lot I think could change, and her kit kind of makes sense with how she fits into the game. But remember, I will link to the infographic down below, so let me know what you think about Riho as a champion. I thought it'd be a good time to do this guide because we just had the first ever guaranteed Void Legendary event by pulling 90 Voids to get Riho. So what better time to do a deep dive and get her graded to do some content on her. And also remember that infographic is down below if you would like to pull that up and check it out. So that'll do it for me on this one. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe on your way out to stay up to date for all of the deep dives we are doing for different champions and different mechanics in Raid. As always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.